Beneath the vast blue sky, CA City appeared in the gentle sunlight, as if signaling a day full of upheaval. On the romantic beach, a solemn wedding ceremony was taking place. The groom, Halam, stood beside his best man, his face tense and nervous as he waited for the bride to walk in. The emcee's warm voice rang out. Halam, do you agree to take Dutan as your wife? Do you promise to care for and love her, and to never leave her whether in poverty or sickness? Do you agree? Halam's eyes were filled with happiness. He took Dutan's hand and reverently slipped the ring onto her finger before firmly replying, I do. Applause broke out, but just as the MC was about to declare that the two could kiss, a sudden gunshot tore through the air and chaos engulfed the entire scene. 6 months later, a hospital in CA City, Halam jolted upright in bed, drenched in sweat, breathing hard, his eyes dazed as if he had just escaped a nightmare. His trembling hand clenched the wedding ring tightly. He whispered softly, Where are you now? Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Alam spokitaidly. Come in. Duong Thursday entered with a serious expression. Your psychiatrist is waiting outside. Halam turned away evasively. I don't need one. Hearing that, Duong Thursday sighed. Don't regret it later. As he spoke, he held out his phone. A friend of mine in G-City just sent me this. Alam frowned curiously. What is it? But the moment he finished speaking, his eyes lit up when he saw it was a photo of Dutan. It was her in another place. At the same time, the radio announced, yesterday, an employee of Evergreen was confirmed dead. Police suspect this was a case of murder. Meanwhile, in the freezing winter air, Dutan huddled with her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Step by heavy step, she made her way toward a small cafe. She shivered lightly. It's so cold. As her trembling hand pushed the door open, it was suddenly gripped by a warm hand, and a voice called out, Zutang. She jumped in fright and blurted, Huh? Her confused eyes stared at the strange man in front of her. Who are you? Halam clenched his teeth, his face flushed with emotion. You. Before he could finish, Dutan went on the defensive. She struggled and shouted, Let go, you creep. Are you crazy? Just then, a thug behind them came charging over with a stick, chasing a brown-haired young man as he roared angrily, Bastard, I'll kill you. Halam quickly sized up the situation and immediately pulled Dutan close to him, his gaze resolute. Grabbing her hand tightly, he shouted, Run! The two of them dashed off into the freezing wind, their feet pounding against the pavement. They hid in a small room, and Halam quickly locked the door, raising a finger to his lips to signal, don't say anything. Dutan breathed hard, her eyes secretly studying him. Her heart fluttered slightly. In that moment, she blushed and thought, he's actually really handsome. When she noticed him glancing at her, she quickly turned her face away and pouted as if annoyed. Halam still didn't let go of her hand, so Dutan said sternly, Can you let go of my hand? Alam fumbled awkwardly. Right, and quickly released it. She immediately stepped back to keep her distance, her voice full of surprise. Who exactly are you? Alam froze. A question rose in his mind. Does she really not remember me? Just then, Ha Dong Tien walked in, looking tired. His voice brightened with joy as he called out, Sister Onin, you're here. The young man widened his eyes in surprise. And who is this man? Halam was stunned. Onin, could I have mistaken her for someone else? No, there has to be a way to find out. He forced a smile. 1 cup of coffee, please. Hearing that, Dutan's mouth fell open in shock. You want to buy coffee? Angrily, she dragged him outside. We're not selling anything today, so leave. But Halam came right back and slowly sat down in a chair. Resting his chin on his hand, he spoke calmly yet provocatively. Since I'm already here, I should at least get a cup. You can't exactly throw out a customer, can you? Dutan ground her teeth in anger and cursed inwardly. Crazy bastard. But in the end, she could only sigh helplessly. Fine, drink it and leave right away. She turned and went inside, making coffee while quietly instructing, Sam, stay here. If I reach for the tissues later, call the police immediately. Tell them a lunatic came to cause trouble at the cafe. A moment later, she brought over the coffee and set it down hard on the table, her tone cold. Here. Halam raised a brow, his eyes gleaming. Wait, do you have any salt? The unexpected question made Dutan freeze. Huh? She stared at his mysterious smile and thought, this guy really is insane. Halam recalled a happy memory from the past, when he had mischievously dropped a spoonful of salt into a cup of coffee, and Dutan had asked in surprise, Brother Halam, what are you doing? He smiled gently and held the cup out to her. It's really good. Give it a try. Dutan, not the least bit suspicious, took a big sip, her eyes sparkling with trust. Thank you so much. But right after that, she spat it out, her face scrunched up, her voice choked and teary. You tricked me. This is poison. It tastes awful. What did you put in it? Returning to the present, the Dutan before Halam was no longer the Dutan of the past. She looked at him blankly. Salt? Alam replied calmly. Yes. Dutan studied him and thought to herself, it doesn't seem like he came here just to make trouble. On the outside, she smiled and nodded lightly. All right, I'll get some for you. But inwardly, she was in a whirl of shock. Is this guy really crazy? She dropped the salt shaker onto the table with a thud. Here, Halam gently lifted the cup. Then add some salt for me. Dutan's face darkened, and inwardly she growled, Fine, then I'll send you straight to heaven. Halam smiled again and held out the cup. A little more. A flash of anger lit up Dutan's eyes, her hand trembling with irritation. She scooped up a heaping spoonful of salt. In her mind, she gritted out, then go to hell, and held it right in front of him. This spoonful should be enough, right? Unexpectedly, some of the salt spilled. White grains dropped straight into the cup, splashing coffee everywhere, even onto Halam. Dutan stood there blankly, breaking into a cold sweat, while Halam, spattered with coffee, merely said in a low voice, That's enough. Let me wipe that off for you. She quickly pulled a tissue from the table and handed it over. From a distance, Dong Tien saw the gesture and jumped in alarm. He remembered what Dutan had said. Sam, if I reach for the tissues, call the police immediately. His hand tightened around the phone, ready to dial. Over here, Halam's eyes flashed sharply. He gave a faint smile and said, Your service is quite attentive. Dutan bit her lip, her face falling. I'm really sorry about this accident. I'll compensate you. Halam pointed to the stained patch on his shirt. And what about this stain? You expect me to go outside looking like this? Well, for now, you can wear the cafe uniform. Halam raised a brow. That's all? Nothing else? Dutan said sternly, I'll wash your coat for you. If possible, I hope you'll come back next time. Alam nodded lightly. All right, where's the changing room? Dutan clenched her teeth in anger, her hand tightening into a fist, but she said nothing more. In the changing room, Halam placed his coat on the table, his eyes heavy with thought. I even tried adding salt to the coffee, but she had no reaction at all. Could I really have been mistaken? His gaze dropped to the ring on his hand, sorrow rising in his chest, when suddenly a powerful kick slammed the door open with a bang. Halam jerked around in shock as a commanding shout from the police rang out. Hands up, we're the police. Halam's eyes widened in surprise, his body frozen like stone. Under the quiet night sky, Halam let out a heavy sigh, enough to paint the whole space in melancholy. He silently stepped out of the police station gates, his shoulders trembling slightly in the cold wind. As his hand brushed his nose absent-mindedly, he was surprised to see a familiar car waiting in the distance. Duong Thursday sat inside with a mocking smirk. Halam paused, then quickened his pace. As soon as he opened the car door, he asked, Why are you here? Duong Thursday tilted his head, eyes gleaming mischievously. Did the police bring you here? Halam silently sat down, his face dark and unable to hide his exhaustion. Beside him, Duong Thursday started the car and probed further. So how are you going to repay me for what happened earlier? And did you meet her? Halam turned away and looked out the window, his voice hoarse. Don't bring that up again. Duong Thursday frowned slightly and thought, looks like he's in a really bad mood. He glanced over and asked again, so where to now? Halam clenched his hand faintly as if trying to hold himself back, a stubborn light flashing in his eyes. Take me to the cafe. Duong Thursday's eyes widened in disbelief. You still want to see her? Halam lowered his head, his gaze distant and sorrowful. He rubbed his forehead as if trying to dispel the heaviness in his heart, his voice low. She doesn't remember me anymore. Duong Thursday went still, stammering, What did you just say? And he seized the chance to laugh mockingly. She doesn't want to marry you anymore. Halam shot him a glare. Shut up. The atmosphere in the car sank. Duong Thursday softened his tone. Do you really not want to join my team? I'll send you confidential intel if you agree. But Halam remained firm. Drive me to the cafe right now. Zung tu get Hesing. I'll help you. You just have to nod. Ha Lam glanced at him and answered coolly, if you lend me your coat, I'll think about it. Duong Thursday laughed and shook his head. That's never happening. Elsewhere, Dutan suddenly received a strange phone call. The voice on the other end said politely, hello, is this Miss Onin? You ordered a pair of glasses before. Could you come by the shop and pick them up now? Zutan Frauen Tao Fun. I don't even remember ever ordering glasses, but she still went to the shop as arranged. The shop owner kindly handed her a glasses case. Here are your glasses. Dutan took it and nodded lightly. Thank you. Her trembling hand opened the case. She murmured, half a year ago, I was nearsighted. Maybe that's why my life changed. But now, why does it feel like I don't need glasses at all? She tried them on, but dizziness overwhelmed her, and she quickly took them off, feeling unsettled. Her gaze dropped to the price tag, and she froze. 10,000 yuan. Her heart skipped a beat as she asked in a trembling voice, can I return these? The shop owner shook his head firmly. They were custom-made, so they can't be returned. Hearing that, Dutan's eyes stung as she thought, why did I ever buy these? She walked out of the shop in a heavy mood. On the way home, the cold wind swept past her. Suddenly, an angry shout tore through the night. You son of a bitch! Dutan startled and turned around. She saw a group of thugs surrounding a young man. They snarled, where did you hide it? Trembling, he replied, I really don't know. Panicked, Dutan turned to leave, but accidentally kicked a can on the road and fell hard to the ground. Her heart pounded wildly as she thought at once, they're going to notice me now. The thugs instantly fell silent, all their eyes swinging toward her. The young man in the middle looked up, his eyes widening in shock. It was her. Before she could even react, the whole group roared viciously. Don't let that girl get away. Grab her. Dutan ran in terror, even throwing her handbag behind her. The wind lashed her hair into a mess. Behind her, the young man staggered forward. Blood from the wounds on his body dripped onto her bag. Dutan panted as she fled, her legs trembling as if they were about to give out. Then suddenly, she crashed into a familiar figure in front of her. Alam. She looked up, her reddened eyes glinting in the light. Ha Lam froze, his heart tightening in shock. Her eyes, why had they turned red? Under the still night sky, Dutan, her bright blue eyes blazing with pride, raised a hand to stop Ha Lam behind her. Her gaze was steady, and her crisp voice rang out decisively. Please step aside. Though her figure was small, the aura she gave off was so strong and determined that nothing could shake it. Ha Lam stood rooted to the spot, momentarily stunned. His lips moved faintly, but his throat tightened and not a word came out. Dutan immediately turned and ran off, her hurried footsteps piercing the darkness. Her breath came fast in the night. Only when she reached a secluded place did she stop, placing a hand over her chest to calm herself. Behind her, the thug's shouts echoed. Where did that girl run off to? Ha Lam's voice cut in firmly. Leave her alone. The thugs cursed angrily. Who the hell are you to interfere? Holding her breath, Dutan peeked out. She thought they had left, but she was horrified to see Ha Lam recklessly charge in and fight back. Anger surged in her chest. This idiot, why would he stupidly provoke them? A flood of chaotic thoughts rushed through her mind. What do I do? What do I do now? Then her quick wits gave her an answer. Without hesitating, Dutan shouted, Police. The police are here. The atmosphere instantly went dead silent. The thugs panicked and shoved Ha Lam to the ground. Their voices still echoed in alarm. Lucky you. Remember my face. Then they scattered and fled, leaving behind a chaotic scene. Ha Lam fell face first to the ground. Dutan rushed out in alarm to help him up. Are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere? Ha Lam looked up at her, his eyes carrying a trace of doubt mixed with tenderness. Those eyes. Could I have seen wrong? Dutan jolted when she saw blood on his hand, the wound spreading further. She cried out in panic. Oh no, your hand is bleeding so badly. Ha Lam grimaced and pretended to complain. Ow, it hurts so much. Then let his head loll as if he were fainting. His voice weakened. I am dying. Zutang ansioli sukhim. Hey, wake up. Can you hear me? Wake up. Her eyes brimmed with worry when suddenly Ha Lam laughed. His face instantly turned perfectly normal. So you do worry about me? Dutan gaped, furious and disgusted by the joke, and burst out angrily, then turned to leave in a huff. Realizing he had gone too far, Ha Lam hurried after her, pleading, Come on, don't be mad. Don't leave me alone. Dutan angrily snatched up her bag and said resentfully, Follow me to the cafe. I'll bandage you up. They walked in silence until they sat down under the lights. Dutan's deft hands carefully wrapped his wound, skillfully tying it into a cute little bow. All done. It's late now, so you should go. Halam stared blankly at the bandage, nostalgia flashing through his mind. She still remembers how to bandage it this way. So why doesn't she remember me? Suddenly, he remembered. All right, your coat. Have you washed it yet? Zhu Tang Bao said, then admitted awkwardly, not yet. Halam's face fell at once. Huh, it's so cold out right now. If I don't have a coat, how am I supposed to go outside? Dutan frowned and glared. What does that have to do with me? Halam hurriedly pleaded. Just let me stay the night. Furious, Dutan kicked him out the door. Get lost, and don't show your face here again. Then she slammed the door shut. But her conscience wouldn't let her be. A moment later, Dutan cracked the door open and tossed her own coat to him. Return it tomorrow. Halam eagerly took it, cradling it like a treasure, hugging it tightly to his chest as if afraid it might shatter. Beneath the night sky blanketed in white snow, he stood silently in the freezing air, snowflakes drifting onto his shoulders. His gaze was distant, as though carrying countless unspoken thoughts. His lips pressed together slightly in the biting wind, and in the hazy swirl of snow, fleeting thoughts flashed through his mind like lightning. There was still something he had not managed to say. What was she doing right now? Halam lifted his head and looked at the light spilling from Dutan's window. The thought of her stirred his heart, and he softly hummed a few trembling lines of a song into the night. Oh, love. At that same moment, inside the warm room, Dutan was carefully wiping the bloodstains off the glasses case. The chaotic scene from tonight flashed through her mind again. That had really been dangerous. If she hadn't run into him, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Her eyes suddenly paused when she saw a pen lying neatly inside the box. Why is there a pen in here? She picked it up and looked it over for a while. Interest showed plainly on her face. It was probably a free gift. It's pretty nice, too. Fine, I'll keep it. Dutan slipped the pen into her pocket, then smiled at the new glasses. These glasses are decent enough. I'll put them in the cabinet. It was late, and her heavy eyelids made her yawn. It's late, time to sleep. Time seemed to pass in an instant. One long sleep carried her into the next morning. The new cafe was bustling with preparations. Dong Tien and Du Tan arranged the tools, the boy's face bright with eager anticipation. Sister Onin, hurry and open the door. The boss said the first customer of the day gets a free drink. I wonder who the lucky one will be today. Dutan quickly opened the door, but the moment she stepped out, she froze in shock at the sight of Halam curled up right in front of the porch. His face was flushed red, his breathing heavy, his eyes too unfocused to see clearly. She hurriedly crouched down and touched his forehead in alarm. Oh no, he's burning up. He has a high fever. Dong Tien rushed off in a panic. I'll go downstairs and get a fever patch. Halam was brought inside and laid on the bed, beads of sweat dotting his forehead, his mouth still mumbling her name. Zhu Tang. Vague memories from long ago came flooding back in his delirium. Her hand rested gently on his forehead, and she sighed. He really does have a fever. Suddenly, Halam took the chance to pull her closer and lightly brushed his lips against hers, his voice weak but firm. As long as you're by my side, I'll be fine. When the fever eased, Halam stirred awake. His eyes slowly opened, and he sat up in confusion. How long was I asleep? His arm had been carefully bandaged. She had clearly taken care of him, but how long had she stayed by his side? Why don't you recognize me? Why am I still calling her Dutan? Did her name change? His eyes wandered around in confusion. His hand unconsciously picked up the glasses from the table. These glasses, while he was still thinking, complaint from customers downstairs drifted up. Where's my coffee? I've been waiting forever. Curious, Halam went downstairs to take a look. There before him was Dutan, frantically serving customers all by herself. Her face was tense, her voice hurried. Coming right away, please wait a moment. Her trembling hands quickly reached for the coffee jar, but by accident it slipped from her grasp, and in that brief instant, Halam shot out a hand and caught it. He walked over, rolled up his sleeves, and said firmly, "Let me help. Hand me the spoon." Dutan was a little wary, but she still handed it over. "Ah, here." He stirred skillfully, every movement neat and calm. Her eyes followed him unconsciously, and a strange feeling rose in her chest. This person, why does he feel so familiar? Ha Lam held a cloth in his hand and slowly wiped the tabletop, his movements steady, but his eyes were absent, as if drifting along some distant train of thought. Beside him, Dutan gently scooped ice cream from the machine. Her calm manner and graceful motions brought a peaceful stillness to the cafe, but that silence was suddenly broken by his abrupt question, "Where's that kid?" Dutan didn't even look up, answering indifferently. The boy went out to deliver food. Her curt reply only stirred Ha Lam more. He frowned, irritation rising, though he tried to suppress it. "What? The cafe is this busy, and you still let him go make deliveries? And you have to manage everything here alone?" His words came out so loudly that the whole cafe heard them. A few customers looked up. Ha Lam continued angrily, "This cafe owner is really stingy. Can't he hire more people?" Dutan frowned slightly and glanced toward a shadowy corner, her voice low but sharp enough. "You should lower your voice, because the man in the hat sitting over there is the owner." Ha Lam froze on the spot. His eyes widened, surprise flashing across his face, and an awkward smile tugged at his lips, unable to hide his confusion and embarrassment. From afar, the owner lifted his teacup slightly and looked at him as if he understood everything, while Ha Lam remained restless and uneasy inside. As the cafe gradually emptied late into the night, he took the chance to walk over to where Dutan was carefully wiping each cup. The dim yellow light on her face made him pay even more attention to her. He leaned closer and said softly, "Hey, you look pretty free, so make me a cup of coffee." Dutan immediately replied in the polished tone of an experienced server, 15 yuan. Ha Lam suddenly added, "Extra salt." A trace of annoyance crossed her face, and she replied flatly, 50 yuan. Ha Lam burst out laughing, pulling his wallet from his pocket. "As long as you're willing to make it, I'll pay whatever it costs." He stepped closer, deliberately drawing out his words. "I'd even pay 500. No way he could keep acting rich for long, though." The moment he finished speaking, a few coins suddenly fell out of his wallet and rolled across the tiled floor. Ha Lam blinked in shock, then tried to cover it up. "How about I owe you today and pay tomorrow?" Dutan said nothing more. She pulled out a pen and slapped it down on the table, her gaze icy cold. "Write an IOU." Ha Lam gave an awkward laugh, trying to smooth things over. "It's no big deal. I'll definitely pay tomorrow. Why don't you just make it 500? He even happily signed the paper and handed it to her. "Here, my exclusive signature. Keep it safe." Dutan took it and read it. Her eyes immediately flashed coldly. She pointed at it. "Who is Dutan?" "My name is Onin." Ha Lam stiffened and forced a smile. "Let me fix it." A thought flashed through his mind. "She's determined not to let me call her Dutan. I guess I'll have to get used to it." She scolded him sternly. "I'm Onin. Remember that." He stammered as he rewrote it and handed it to her. This time she nodded. "Fine." Ha Lam glanced at the pen in her hand and praised it casually. "That pen's pretty nice too." Dutan coldly snatched it back from him. "Give it back." Alam stared blankly. "Hey." Then he braced a hand on the table as if he had just remembered something. "All right, have you washed my coat yet?" That question made Dutan panic. She silently blamed herself for forgetting. "Well," before she could answer, a voice rang out. Unexpectedly, Duong Thursday appeared, carrying a gift bag in his hand. "Wuning." In that instant, she ran over and threw herself into his arms, ignoring the stunned expression on Ha Lam's face. Her voice trembled with joy. "Why are you here?" With tears shimmering in her eyes, she looked up at Duong Thursday, her face glowing with happiness. He gently wrapped an arm around her shoulders, his gaze soft and protective. Ha Lam's heart suddenly tightened, countless questions surging inside him. Who is this man? Why does he dare touch her? Duong Thursday continued to gently stroke Dutan's head as if doting on a child, while Ha Lam stood at a distance, so jealous that his brows knitted tightly. Those two were obviously far too close, and it churned his heart. Who exactly was this man to make Dutan smile so radiantly? Her face lit up as if warmed by happiness itself, her eyes shining with joy at seeing the person she had longed for. Ha Lam was so angry, he nearly crushed the slip of paper in his hand. The owner placed a hand on his shoulder, making him jump. Only then did he realize he had accidentally crumpled the man's business card. Meanwhile, Duong Thursday and Dutan had already sat down at a table. Duong Thursday took out the gifts, and Dutan happily called Dong Tian over to join them. Laughing, she called out to younger boy, "Sam, come eat sweets with me." Dong Tian chirped as he ran over. Coming. As he chewed, he said, "It's been a long time since you stopped by." Duong Thursday smiled and replied, "I've been busy lately, so I couldn't come." Then he handed the gift to Duton. "I bought this because I remembered you once said, "Du tang tang get him et sitan li." Duong Thursday reminded her, "You didn't used to like dried beef." Duton blinked in surprise, then laughed. "That's true, but now I think it tastes surprisingly good." She happily chewed on a piece of dried beef, while Duong Thursday turned thoughtful. "I'm sorry for hiding from you the things you shouldn't have known." His face was filled with contemplation. Perhaps this was what he had wanted all along. Duton suddenly remembered the schedule ahead and asked softly, "Right, you're going to be very busy soon, aren't you? Are you about to leave the city?" Duong Thursday fell silent for a moment, then looked up decisively. "I'm not going anywhere anymore." His voice trembled, but it was firm. "So whatever happens from now on, I won't lose you again. I won't let you face that ever again." His words made Duton's heart tremble. Just as the air grew thick with emotion, the cafe owner cut in. "Let me introduce everyone. Starting today, we'll have a new employee, Halam, a coffee expert." He even added, "Onin, make sure to learn from him." Duton was stunned. "You." Meanwhile, Halam smugly raised a hand in greeting. "Zutang Fawen Doha Sai." What was he planning now? She and Duong Thursday exchanged a look as if speaking through their eyes. "Your friend?" she asked. "What do you think?" Halam walked over to Duong Thursday and said, "Hello, I'm Halam." The two shook hands firmly. "Hello, I'm Jung Tu." Sweat broke out on his forehead as he looked down at the hand gripping his. Halam gave a sly smile and asked softly, "You seem to be Onin's friend?" His dark red eyes glinted with challenge. "Don't worry, I'll take good care of her." Duong Thursday glanced at him and thought, "Am I jealous because of Onin?" He replied, trembling slightly, "Not at all. You don't need to worry. I'll come by whenever I have time." Halam immediately sneered. "Then let me treat you to a cup of coffee." What an honor. Watching the two of them shake hands, Duton felt uneasy. Had they known each other before? Duton held Halam's coat in her hands, irritation bubbling inside her. He's so difficult, and yet she still had to bow her head and wash his coat for him. As she scrubbed the fabric, she silently complained about why she had to do this. Looking up at the mirror hanging in front of her, her own reflection stared back with a sadness in her eyes, as if hiding a deep loneliness. The pale yellow light only made her face seem more fragile, as though it concealed thoughts she could never confess. At that moment, a thought suddenly struck her. Halam had a wound on his body. Why was a gunshot wound? Who exactly is he? Why do I also have a wound like that? Duton remembered what the doctor had once said. This wound really was caused by a bullet. She froze. Her whole body curled inward instinctively, her eyes turning empty and sorrowful. Her trembling hand clutched her arm, searching for a trace of warmth in the middle of that vast loneliness. Why was I shot? Why is my memory of it completely blank? She blinked and then continued washing the coat. She thought to herself, the fact that he survived a bullet lodged in his chest is truly lucky. She reached for the detergent bottle, but accidentally knocked over the bottle of disinfectant beside it onto Halam's coat. Her heart sank. Oh no! She hurriedly scrubbed at the coat, trying as hard as she could to wash it clean. The sharp smell of antiseptic hanging in the air only made her more tense. Later, in the employee break room, Duton carried a basket of clothes in her arms, yawning sleepily as she walked. Duong Thursday saw her and quickly took it from her. "Let me do that." He smiled gently, like a husband who knew how to share the burden. "Go get some rest." Duton blushed slightly and replied, "Sorry to trouble you. Then I'll go lie down for a bit." She turned away, leaving Duong Thursday to take the coat out to dry. When he picked it up, he paused in surprise. This was clearly a man's coat. As he hung it up, he called out, "Onin, is this your coat?" But there was no answer from behind him. He turned around and saw that Duton had already fallen asleep. Her breathing was even, her lashes trembling faintly like those of an exhausted child. Duong Thursday let out a quiet breath, then stepped forward and lifted her into his arms. His chest tightened. "Is it really you? Is it really you?" Memories of the old days flooded back. "The time I spent by your side is something I truly can never forget." He gently laid her on the bed. Before he could stand up, Duton suddenly stirred and murmured, "I still haven't finished drawing." Duong Thursday gently removed her glasses, his voice a whisper. "Go ahead and sleep. You need rest." He sat down beside the bed. His eyes were fixed on that tired yet peaceful face, and the corners of his lips curved faintly. "At least you're still here. But do you still remember me? Do you still remember our past? Even if this isn't your original body, I don't care. He lowered himself closer. His lips were only a breath away from her slightly parted mouth. At that very moment, Halam walked past the break room and happened to see the scene inside, and his blood instantly boiled. His eyes seemed to burst into flames. That bastard dares kiss her? In a fit of fury, Halam kicked the door open and stormed into the room. Duong Thursday quickly turned his face away, pretending nothing had happened. The noise startled Dutan awake, her sleepy eyes still dazed and unable to understand what was going on. Halam had already roared in anger. What were you trying to do to her? The air was thick with tension. Halam grabbed Duong Thursday by the collar, his gaze cold enough to pierce through him. His shout rang out like thunder, making the whole room shake. You bastard! Though Duong Thursday tried to keep calm, wariness was obvious in his eyes, and his voice trembled with anger. What are you trying to do to me? One small mistake, and everything could explode beyond control. Halam glared and growled each word. What were you trying to do to her? Duong Thursday stammered, unable to answer in time, when Dutan suddenly sat up and cut in decisively to save him. Fire blazed in her eyes. We'll let you in here. Do you realize you just ruined my rare chance to sleep? Halam thought she was scolding Duong Thursday, so he immediately chimed in. Exactly. We'll let you in here. Zutang Poi Den Hao Be. This is my room. He is my older brother. And as for you, go back to your room right now. Alam blinked blankly. Your older brother? Where did you get that excuse from? She replied boldly. So what? I want you out of my sight. Halam let out a crooked laugh. Don't forget, there was a time when I slept in your bed, and you even took care of me. His words made Dutan explode in anger. Shut up. Duong Thursday immediately grabbed her hand, shielding her from the teasing. That's enough. What is wrong with you? The two men stood facing each other, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder. Halam thought to himself, in this kind of chaos, if I say what I saw, she definitely won't believe me. He decided to step back, but still threw out a warning. You'd better stay away from her. If you dare touch her again, you'll regret it. After Halam left, Dutan's irritation was obvious. She turned to question him. Why were you here anyway? Duong Thursday blushed and hesitated. I saw you asleep on the sofa. I was afraid you'd catch cold, so I carried you in here. Then he reached into his pocket and took out a stack of photos. Right, I just got all the photos from our outing developed. And Duong Thursday handed them to her. Dutan flipped through them in astonishment. There were so many she didn't know if the album could even hold them all. Meanwhile, Halam angrily kicked the wall, bitterness choking his heart. What kind of brother is that? He's obviously taking advantage of her. I'm trying to protect her, and she treats me like an idiot. After the kick, his foot started hurting. Grinding his teeth, he called Dong Tien over. Hey, Ixam, let me ask you something. What's the relationship between Nin and Duong Thursday? Dong Tien raised his wallet as a hint and replied vaguely. I think I forgot. Halam threw him some money. Then remember for me. The moment he saw the money, Dong Tien's eyes lit up. I think they were childhood friends. I don't know the details. Alam froze. Oh, his face darkened, and he angrily demanded the money back. He returned to Dutan's room, the word childhood friends echoing over and over in his mind. Impossible. He was the one who had grown up with her. Halam knocked and called out, Onin, are you in there? He pushed the door open himself and stepped inside. It wasn't locked. The room was quiet, with no one there. His gaze swept around, then stopped on the photo album on the table. His trembling hand turned page after page, each photograph stirring old memories. She still looked just the same as before. But when he saw the dates written on the photos, he was stunned. No way. These photos were all taken during the time Dutan had disappeared. Suddenly, she appeared behind him, her voice full of surprise. How did you get in here? Halam turned around, hope plain in his eyes. You still remember me, don't you? Why are you avoiding me? Zutang Thawin. What are you talking about? She snatched the album from his hands. Why would I avoid you? Who do you think you are? I've never met you before. Halam was stunned, but still stubbornly insisted. What are you saying? I'm your husband. I've been looking for you all these years. Dutan shoved his hand away, her voice firm. Enough. Let go of me. You got the wrong person. Whatever your purpose is, you're mistaken. Let me make it clear one more time. I have never known you. Halam stood there numb, his heart clenching as his eyes accidentally fell on her wrist, where a gunshot scar was clearly visible, the exact same wound Dutan had back then. Halam was dragged back into the painful memory of years ago. When the bullet came flying, Dutan screamed, "Watch out," then threw herself in front of him. The cry tore through the air. The moment she collapsed into his arms, blood spreading in dark red, Halam trembled as he held her tightly, his eyes wild with panic, pain, and rage, as if his heart were being crushed. He shouted, "What did you just do? Do you know how dangerous that was?" Halam held her even tighter, his voice choked. "I don't want you to be in danger ever again." He carried her and ran to the hospital, panting as he repeated over and over, "Hang on, I'll get you somewhere safe." Later, whenever he checked on her, she would still force a bright smile. "It's ugly. Does it still hurt?" She replied, "No matter how ugly I get, you won't leave me anyway. This is a mark. If in the next life, you'll still recognize me." Back in the present, Halam suddenly pulled Dutan into a tight embrace, his voice trembling. "This scar, it can only be you." Duong Thursday stood outside, looking in with unease on his face. "Halam, Du." Before he could finish, Dutan suddenly grabbed Halam's arm, and in a flash of panic, she flipped him onto the floor. His body rolled across the ground before his eyes could even refocus. Duong Thursday was left dumbfounded, never expecting the situation to turn like this. Dutan stared at her own trembling hands in fear. "Could it have been me?" Forcing a smile, Duong Thursday said, A customer ordered coffee, holding his stomach and laughing painfully. "Zhu Tang, I finally found you." When she secretly glanced back, his words echoed her mind. "We grew up together. You're my wife. I've been searching for you for so many years." Dutan frowned in thought. Could it be that he couldn't find his lover, so now he's clinging to me instead? The next day, Dutan brought Halam to his place to stay. She tossed him a key. "This is your room. Luckily, it's right next to mine. If you need anything, ask AXAM." Halam took the key, his eyes resolute. "I have to confirm this childhood friends thing." He asked her, "Are you and Duong Thursday really childhood friends?" Zutan pouted. "Yeah, so what? What's it to you?" He dodged the question. It's nothing. But his heart was in turmoil. How could she forget him? She crossed her arms and sighed. "Enough. Stop bothering me." Halam was about to turn away when he saw his jacket hanging on the rack. He quickly grabbed it. This is clearly my jacket. What did you do to it? I can't wear it anymore." And just like that, the two of them went to the mall. Halam tried on a new coat. His tall frame and cool aura made the shop owner praise him nonstop. "Miss, your boyfriend is really handsome. This is our newest style, and it suits him perfectly." Halam beamed as he turned back. "It suits me, right, honey?" Zutang Voda. "Who are you calling honey?" Her eyes flicked to the price tag, and she cried inwardly. "Too expensive." Halam casually grabbed her hand and pulled her along. "Why are you spacing out? Come on." She pouted. "Are you rich or something?" He only gave an awkward smile. Just then, fate led him straight into the two men who had beaten him before, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. "Halam imeditan pulet Zutang. Come with me." She panicked. "Wait." The two men spotted them and shouted, "Grab them." The gray-haired one looked around. Where'd they go? Suddenly hearing movement behind a curtain, he charged over. The other snapped irritably, "Let go of me. I saw them hiding in here." Meanwhile, Dutan had already put on a disguise. She glanced to Halam. "It's too late now. Can I go home already?" Halam suddenly took off his mask and held her by the shoulders. "Wait." Then he lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. Dutan was stunned. At that exact moment, the curtain was yanked open and the two men roared, "Come out here. I'll deal with you myself." After pulling the curtain aside and checking all around, they didn't see anyone and muttered to each other, "They're not here." In that instant, hidden in the darkness, Halam lowered his head and held Dutan tightly in his arms, as if he wanted to shield her from the whole world. Only after the two men had gone far away did he move to step out, but unexpectedly their lips brushed again, gentle, yet carrying everything neither of them could say aloud. Dutan's eyes widened, her heart trembling, but in the next second her emotions turned cold, her face stern and judgmental. She suddenly kicked him in a sensitive spot, making Halam cry out in pain. Groaning, he clutched his stomach and complained, "You owe me for that." But she stormed off in anger, leaving him behind. Seeing that, Halam hurried after her. "Hey, wait for me." He tried to coax her in a low voice. "Careful, they might recognize us again." Dutan was so annoyed that she spun around and clamped a hand over his mouth. "Stop following me, or I'll call the police right now." But then her steps halted abruptly because hanging in front of shop was a pufferfish plush. Her eyes lit up with delight. Halam only needed one glance to understand. Does she want that? Thinking quickly, he borrowed a gun from the game stall owner. "Give me 10 shots." His movements were so swift and efficient that Du Tan stared in surprise. He hefted the gun with the swagger of a soldier heading into battle and reassured her, "Don't worry, I'll win it for you." A faint blush rose to her face, and her heart stirred before she knew it. Suddenly, he did seem kind of handsome. But why did that stance look so strangely familiar? While aiming, Halam deliberately explained, "This is the basic stance." He pulled the trigger. The shots rang out, but every single one missed the target. It was obvious he was missing on purpose just to annoy her. So annoyed that Du Tan snatched the gun right out of his hand. "You're hopeless. Give me that." She aimed to shoot, but her head suddenly spun. Her hands trembled, and she couldn't hold it steady. "It's just a toy gun. So why is this happening?" Halam immediately stepped forward and supported her in his arms, his voice low and warm. "Let me help you. Just relax." Her eyes flickered as she looked up at him, and Halam lowered his head with a soft smile. "Let me show you." He placed his hands over hers and steadied the gun. With his guidance, Du Tan gradually calmed down. She pulled the trigger, and the shot hit the number 20 right beneath the pufferfish. Du Tan burst out happily, "I got it." Joy exploded inside her when she won the prize she wanted. The two left the stall, Du Tan hugging the soft pufferfish tightly to her chest, unable to stop praising how cute it was. Halam looked at her, then pinched his own cheek and puffed it out like the pufferfish. "I'm cute too, right?" Du Tan ist fast flushed pink. Holding the adorable plush tightly, her lips curved into a radiant smile like peach blossoms opening, her half-lidded eyes filled with softness. In a quiet whisper, she said, "That's right." The words were gentle, as if they carried all the sweetness in her heart. She happily waved goodbye. "I'm heading back now." Halam stood there watching Du Tan smile, and an indescribable happiness rose in his heart too. On the wedding day of Halam and Du Tan, what should have been the happiest day of their lives turned into a nightmare when a stranger suddenly opened fire. He rushed forward, pressed a gun to her head, and gripped Halam by the throat. "Joking for budit, Halam sao that tau glenjetit, suit Du Tang." "Forget about me, shoot." Du Tan's hand trembled as she pointed the gun at him, tears pouring down her face. She didn't dare pull the trigger for fear of hurting Halam, and in despair, she broke down crying. "I can't do it." In the next moment, Du Tan jolted awake in the middle of the night with a scream. So it had all just been a nightmare, a horrifying memory from the past, from before she became the person she was now. Clutching the pufferfish beside her pillow, Du Tan's heart pounded wildly as question after question echoed in her mind. Who is he? Why did I dream about him? It feels like I really have met him before. She tried to deny the feeling. No way. How could it possibly be him? She walked to the window to look at the night sky, trying to drive away the chaotic thoughts, and muttered to reassure herself, "Enough. Stop thinking and go to sleep." But then Du Tan suddenly saw Halam in the courtyard below. His silent appearance in the middle of the night made her curious. What's he doing out there? Did someone come to see him? As if sensing her gaze, Halam suddenly turned his head. By reflex, Du Tan panicked and pulled the curtain shut, her heart racing. Why am I hiding from him? Unable to fall back asleep, Du Tan sat down at her desk to draw. The memory from the dream clung stubbornly to her, and the image of that man became clearer and clearer. She kept sketching Halam's face while muttering, "Did I really shoot him before? Why does this feel so familiar?" When the drawing was finished, she stared at it blankly for a long time. Suddenly, Halam appeared behind her and swiftly took the picture, leaving Du Tan stunned. The corners of his lips curved into a gentle smile. His eyes were intent, his voice full of curiosity. "Who are you drawing?" He held the portrait up, then softly asked, "So it's me. But why am I hurt in the picture?" His words pricked her pride. She quickly tried to snatch it back. "Give it back." Halam deliberately teased her. "Then come get it yourself." In the struggle, she accidentally slipped. Her body toppled straight into his arms, and Halam tightened his embrace around her. In that moment, he suddenly realized it had been so long since he'd held Du Tan this close. Just then, Dong Tien came down the hallway looking sleepy. The moment he opened the door, he saw Halam carrying Du Tan in his arms. "You." He froze, face stiff. Du Tan hurriedly tried to explain, "It's not what you think." "Let me explain." But Dong Tien coldly slammed the door shut without listening. Helpless and flustered, Du Tan called after him, "Wait." She looked straight into Halam's eyes, her gaze packed with countless tangled emotions. Halam tilted his head slightly, his voice gentle. "What is it? Isn't that why you don't want to get off me?" A moment later, Dutan silently let go of him, her face burning red with embarrassment, her heart overflowing with regret. She slumped over the desk in dismay. Meanwhile, Halam quietly picked up the picture she had drawn of him, and a tiny thread of hope rose in his heart. So she still remembered him. He crouched down to pick up a few more sheets scattered across the floor, his eyes flashing with surprise. It wasn't just him in the drawings. There was another face, too. It was in the quiet room. The soft yellow lamplight fell over the wooden desk. Dutan sat across from him, her small figure half hidden in the dim glow, while Halam leaned back in his chair. He held the two drawings in his hand and studied them carefully. One was a portrait of himself, and the other was of Duong Thursday. After looking at them, he laughed, half mocking, half jealous. "Why did you draw me like some junkie, but make him look like an angel? You're so biased." His tone was playful, but there was still a trace of jealousy in his eyes. Resting her chin on her hand, Dutan gazed off indifferently, her lips pursed with weariness as she replied slowly, with a mix of annoyance and sulking, "Because at first I didn't even want to draw you." Halam fell silent, his hand tightening slightly on the paper, his sideways glance unreadable. Then he slowly pleaded, "Draw me again, will you?" A memory of that haunting dream flashed through Dutan's mind, the scene of a man being held at gunpoint. She wasn't sure if it was Halam or someone else. After letting out a long sigh, she finally nodded. "Fine, sit up straight." Under the hazy yellow light, Halam adjusted his posture, his eyes deep in thought, his shoulders steady as Dutan focused on drawing him. He felt a little proud and pleased, glancing at her from time to time as he watched her concentrate. Her soft hand moved with each stroke of the pencil, her brows faintly furrowed, her lips gently pressed together, so cute that his heart trembled. He remembered how she used to draw him like this before, sometimes in messy little clumsy sketches. At the thought, he laughed to himself. Dutan looked up, thinking he was laughing at her appearance, and immediately frowned and snapped. "Did you just laugh at me?" Halam jumped and quickly waved his hands, but she was already making things difficult for him, issuing orders. "Turn your face that way. Now turn back here. Sit still for me." But when she started drawing Halam's eyes, that terrifying dream suddenly came rushing back. A voice echoed in her head. "Do you want us both to die together?" Her trembling hand felt as if it were gripping a gun, and Halam's urgent voice rang out again. "Shoot! Hurry, shoot!" Dutan snapped back to reality, startled so badly her face went pale and her heart pounded chaotically. "Why would I think something like that?" Halam asked in surprise. "You don't want to draw me anymore? Is it because I'm too ugly? Or do you think this expression suits me better? Just relax." Hearing his gentle voice, Dutan unexpectedly felt reassured. Strange. When I'm with him, I actually feel at peace. But she still tried to hide it by teasing him back. "Right? You're unbelievably ugly." Halam immediately leaned closer and chuckled teasingly. "That ugly? Then why did you draw me this handsome?" Dutan blushed in embarrassment and quickly snapped. "Enough. Go sit over there." The two were still talking when suddenly the room went dark. The power had gone out. Startled, she murmured, "Huh? The electricity's out." Halam tilted his head toward her, his voice soft. "Are you scared?" Dutan tried to sound tough. "I wouldn't be scared even if I died." He laughed quietly, his warm hand taking hers. "Don't worry. I'm here. I'll take you somewhere." Her heart filled with questions. "He's here. So where exactly is he taking me?" Halam only tightened his grip, his voice firm. "Come with me. You won't regret it." Surprised, Dutan asked, "How do you know that?" Halam smiled and replied, "You know," Dutan exclaimed in delight, "this is my first time seeing a place this beautiful." Suddenly, he took her hand and pulled her along. Dutan's heart began to race, and her cheeks flushed red. He led her over to a bench, then gently spread a sheet of paper down on it. Halam sat down and quickly patted the seat beside him, gesturing for her to come over. "Come here. Can you sit here?" Seeing that, Dutan looked at him shyly. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, filled with glittering stars, and a shooting star streaked across the sky. She whispered a wish softly, hoping she would find the answer to that dream. Halam stole a glance at her and gently placed his hand over hers. Startled, Dutan turned to look at him. On the peaceful rooftop, Halam tilted his head up and spoke slowly in a deep, warm voice. "Wait, don't go back yet. Just 5 more minutes, and there'll be a meteor shower. It'll be beautiful." Dutan leaned slightly toward him. Her clear eyes shone with anticipation. The night breeze stirred her hair, making each strand flutter softly. The distance between them seemed filled by a faint warmth and something wondrous drawing near. but suddenly, du temps defend. The words 5 more minutes echoed in her mind, and the image of Tam Du appeared. In 5 minutes, we'll begin the surgery. I'll operate on her myself. Du temps fas went bad. Her hand slipped away from Hallam's. He stared after her in surprise, both worried and confused. She hurriedly stood up, her voice hoarse. I'm sorry. It's late. I'm going back to my room to rest first. Dutan's footsteps were hurried, as if she were trying to run away. Hallam sat there in silence, an inexplicable worry rising in his chest. Dutan returned to her room. The harsh white light, shining through the night, only made it feel lonelier. She collapsed onto the bed, one hand over her forehead, her heart pounding wildly. Why have I been having such strange dreams lately? I don't want to sleep anymore, but those dreams just won't let me go. She reached for a bottle of medicine. She hurriedly swallowed some and let out a weary breath. Whatever. I'll take the medicine so I can sleep. Then she dragged herself into the bathroom and turned on the tap to wash her hands. In the mirror, her exhausted face stared back at her. She looked at herself blankly, then blamed herself, pinching her cheek until it turned red. What's wrong with me? Why did I let him hold my hand? The memory of Hallam's kiss suddenly came rushing back, making her heart pound. She quickly shook her head and scolded herself. Oh my God, what am I even thinking? Forget it. No more thinking. It's late. I need to sleep. The mirror reflected her once more. Her long, loose hair made her face look even more drawn. She muttered, this hairstyle doesn't really suit me. Should I tie in a ponytail? I don't know. Forget it. I'll think about it later. After showering, Dutan returned to her room, let out a long sigh, and lay down on the bed. She hugged the little pufferfish plushie, rubbing it gently as if seeking a bit of comfort. This little puff furfish really is cute. Suddenly, the phone rang, shattering the quiet. The screen lit up with a message from Tam Du. Are you asleep yet? I have to go on a business trip to Kyoto tomorrow, so I won't be able to see you for a while. Remember to eat properly and take care of yourself. I'll buy you a gift. Before she had even finished reading, the phone vibrated. Tam Du was calling. She reached out and answered. His voice came through. Are you busy? Dutan smiled and replied, No, I just finished showering. Kam du juka sopti. Actually, I texted because I miss you. All right, if you need anything, just tell me. Go to bed early, okay? Dutan hesitated, then blurted out, Lately I've been having strange dreams. Tam Du sounded slightly surprised, his voice slowing. What kind of dreams? Are you having some kind of problem? She answered softly, Not exactly, but the person in the dream seems to look like Hallam. In her mind flashed the image of Tam Du wearing gloves, cold and decisive as he said, Start now. Don't worry, I'm here. Dutan had intended to say more, but stopped herself. Her voice fell. No, it's nothing. Tam Du reminded her, Don't think too much. It's probably just because you see him so often. Get some rest early. She nodded quietly. Okay, you should sleep early too. Good night. On the other end, Tam Du replied, Good night. But in the hospital's cold darkness, his eyes gradually sharpened, a trace of chill flickering within them. Hallam, so, it seems you're starting to remember him, aren't you? As Dutan slept, she kept sneezing, yet the cold kept seeping in, leaving her exhausted as she recalled Tam Du's words. Don't think too much. It's probably just because co-workers see each other a lot, so that's why I dreamed about him. She whispered, Are he and I really just co-workers? Is it really impossible for us to go any further? She stared at her trembling hand, the hand that had once held a gun in her dream. That can't be right. And what about my eyesight getting blurrier and blurry? What exactly is all of this? How am I supposed to find the answer? Another sneeze suddenly hit, making her sit upright. She quickly grabbed a tissue to wipe her nose. This is awful. I caught a cold. Just then, there was a knock at the door. She looked up in surprise. Who is it? Hallam's voice came from outside. It's me. You caught a cold, haven't you? At the sound of his voice, Dutan's heart pounded. She hurriedly replied, No, I haven't. He said in a low voice, I heard you sneezing a lot, so I went out and bought medicine for you. Dutan blushed and unconsciously raised a hand to touch her cheek. Then she quickly walked over and opened the door a crack, reaching her hand through the gap. Then give it to me. Hallam looked at her carefully, worry flickering in his eyes. Are you really okay? Why do you care? Suddenly, her hand loosened and the collar of her nightgown slipped down, revealing her bare shoulder. Both of them froze. She quickly grabbed her outer robe and pulled it tightly around herself, her face burning red. Alam lukt momentarily stand. Then he quickly bent down and picked up her robe for her, draping it back over her shoulders with a gentle motion. It's really cold. You should put on another layer. And remember to take the medicine too. He placed the medicine box in her hand, then smiled faintly in farewell. Good night. Then he turned and left. In the quiet of his room, Halam sat curled up in the corner of the bed, his thoughtful gaze fixed on his phone. He replayed an old commemorative video from 2017. Birthday song echoes filled the room. Back then, Dutan had been radiant as she cheered, "Happy birthday to my Halam. You have to always be happy, okay?" In the video, Halam laughed. "That's not enough. I want us to stay together for life." The scene came back vividly. Dutan happily smeared cake on his face, and he took the chance to smear some back on hers. She pouted, "How dare you do that?" Halam gently pulled her closer. "Let me wipe it off for you." Then he softly kissed the bit of cream on her cheek. "And here too." Then he leaned in again. In the video, Dutan blushed shyly, and Halam smiled as he watched that part. A warm feeling welled up inside him. Suddenly, the clock struck midnight. A message lit up the screen. It was from Dutan. "Thank you for buying me medicine. I feel a little better now." Halam quickly typed a reply. It was nothing. But then he set the phone down, a trace of sadness in his eyes. "This year, too, I have to spend my birthday alone." The alarm rang, breaking the stillness of the morning. Dutan reached out and swiped the screen to silence the annoying sound. Her face still held the soft, rosy traces of lingering sleep. Letting out a small yawn and rubbing her eyes, she picked up the familiar medicine bottle as part of her usual routine. She shook it again and again, but not a single pill came out. Realizing she had run out, she frowned slightly and sighed. She tossed the empty bottle into the trash, threw on a soft, warm hoodie, and hurried outside. Luckily, down in the courtyard, she ran into Halam, who had just come out as well. She greeted him softly. He nodded back with a light smile. "Good morning." He reached over and took the trash bag from her hand. "You were going to throw this out too? I'll do it for you." As he spoke, he added, "It's really cold today. Remember to wear more layers so you don't catch a cold." Halam carried the 2 heavy trash bags downstairs, looking calm but attentive, and Dutan stood still behind him. Her heart fluttered at his small but warm gesture. When he reached the bins, he bent down and put the bags in one by one. Suddenly, an empty medicine bottle from Dutan's bag rolled out. Halam picked it up. His eyes froze for a moment, and his hand tightened around the unmarked bottle. "This isn't the medicine bottle I gave her. There's no label either. This clearly isn't ordinary medicine." He immediately slipped the bottle into his pocket. Then he crouched down to gather the scattered bits of trash, worry rising in his heart. God, she must have suffered a lot yesterday. Meanwhile, Dutan was busy cleaning the cafe and preparing to welcome customers. The bell above the door jingled, signaling someone had entered. She quickly turned around, smiling brightly. "Welcome." But when she saw clearly who had just walked in, she looked surprised. "It was Tamdu. Mr. Tamdu, I thought you'd already boarded your flight. Why are you here now?" He pulled out a chair and sat down, smiling as he answered. "There was a problem with the plane, so the flight was delayed." He opened his bag, rummaged around, then looked up and asked, "Have you been sleeping well lately? Are you still having nightmares?" Dutan shook her head lightly to reassure him. "I'm fine. It's okay." Tamdu took out a brand new medicine bottle and slid it toward her. "You've run out of your medicine, haven't you? I brought you a new bottle. This medicine is very good. You should take it regularly. Don't think too much. Just rest and relax." Dutan gave a stiff smile. "Okay, I won't forget." She unscrewed the cap, immediately took out a pill, and swallowed it. Tamdu watched her closely, then reminded her, "You have to remember, if you stop taking it, the nightmares will come back." Dutan looked momentarily dazed, her gaze wavering, but then she nodded. "Yes, let's have dinner later." Tamdu nodded in agreement. "Sure, we can eat wherever you want." On the staircase, Halam silently hid behind the railing, watching everything. His cold gaze followed Tamdu's every move. Even after evening fell and darkness settled in, he still sat quietly by the window, turning the medicine bottle over and over in his hand, as if trying to see through the secret hidden inside it. "What kind of medicine is this?" Halam desai to kun jungtu. "Hello, Jungtu." Laughter came from the other end. "It's me. Miss me that much? Or are you inviting me to your birthday?" Halam answered calmly, "Yes. Let's meet tonight." Under the star-filled night sky, on the sidewalk beside the still lakeshore, the two stood facing each other. Halam held out the medicine bottle. "Help me check what's in this." "What kind of medicine doesn't even have a label?" Jungtu bringet in gudi city. "Why do you want this checked?" "Fine, let me take a look." Ha Lam shot him a sharp look. Check it. In truth, Dutan had already taken this medicine. I'm worried about her. Duong Thursday opened the cap, glanced inside, then suddenly frowned. This is bad. There's absolutely nothing in this bottle. Ha Lam froze, his heart pounding. If that's the case, he choked on the words. Duong Thursday looked at him. Bring me a few more pills. I need to examine them more carefully. Ha Lam turned away in shock, his face changing instantly. Silence blanketed the scene. Moonlight spread dimly across the second-floor front of the cafe, and Ha Lam's eyes shone with gravity. He leaned forward, watching every dark corner. One arm braced lightly against the window frame as he let his shadow blend into the room's still blue darkness. There was no one there, only a cold emptiness that made the atmosphere even more unsettling. Ha Lam jumped down to the floor as lightly as a cat. He began searching everywhere, from the dusty floor to the wardrobe, the drawers, even under the pillow. Where's the medicine bottle? Just as he was bending down to look under the pillow, he heard Dutan's soft footsteps outside and nearly jumped out of his skin. Frantically looking for a place to hide, his mind raced. Aren't there customers downstairs? Why is she coming up right now? Where am I supposed to hide now? The door flew open and Dutan came in. She set down her handbag and sat right on the edge of the bed to take off her high heels, hissing softly. My feet hurt so much. It turned out Ha Lam had hurriedly crawled under the bed. Her weight pressed down, causing the mattress to sink and crush his chest. His face turned pale from lack of air. Meanwhile, she was still struggling with her shoes. The high heels pinched painfully, so she kicked her leg, sending one shoe flying straight into his face. He gritted his teeth and endured it without daring to make a sound, only quietly pushing it aside. Dutan took out a pair of sneakers, her expression relaxing in relief. These are still the most comfortable. Taking advantage of her distraction, Ha Lam reached out, picked up the high heel, and pulled it further inside. Dutan never noticed and simply walked back out, slamming the door behind her. Ha Lam crawled out, gasping as if he had been brought back to life, his heart pounding wildly. Phew, why am I sneaking around like this? Luckily, he finally spotted the medicine bottle lying on the table. His eyes lit up. That's it, right? Meanwhile, as Dutan walked away, she felt a flicker of doubt. It seemed like my shoe flew out just now, but there wasn't anything under the bed. Alarmed, she turned back, suspicion in her eyes. She yanked the door open and bent down to look. Under the bed, only the high heels lay scattered around. No one was there. I guess I'm overthinking it. A light breeze slipped through the window frame. Unexpectedly, Ha Lam was clinging tightly to the outer ledge, both hands trembling as he held himself still to avoid making any noise. Only after she had truly gone did he slowly climb down and step back in through the door, looking worn out, his whole body aching. Just then, a slurred voice rang out. I want a drink. Give me a coffee. Give me 200 cups. Are you deaf? It turned out to be a drunken middle-aged man staggering into the cafe, only to vomit right inside. Zutang panik hatwadili. Sir, you're drunk. Please stop throwing up. The customers all grimaced and started leaving. The atmosphere turned chaotic. Ha Lam immediately shouted, Hey! The drunken man looked up with bleary eyes, then suddenly threw his arms around him, leaving everyone stunned. Son, don't leave your dad alone. Dad misses you so much. Come home with me, son. Ha Lam tried to pull away. Sir, you've got the wrong person. He turned to Dutan and said quietly, Call a taxi. Let's send him home. The taxi arrived quickly. Ha Lam helped the man into the car, then told the driver, Please take him home for me. The man still clutched his hand tightly, crying hoarsely, Come home with Dad. Ha Lam replied softly, Go home, old man. The driver laughed and nodded. Okay. The car drove off and gradually disappeared. Inside, the man was still groaning nonstop. Ha Lam sighed and headed back into the cafe. Seeing Dutan diligently cleaning up the disgusting mess, he immediately rolled up his sleeves and helped her. She looked up at him, then suddenly burst out laughing. The two looked at each other and laughed together. Dutan teased him. He told you to go home with him. Ha Lam continued, and he even called me his son. She asked curiously, Then why are you still laughing? He shrugged, Because I'm my mother's son. Ha Lam arranged to meet Duong Thursday somewhere far from the cafe, then quietly walked to the meeting place. The moment Duong Thursday saw him, he immediately pressed, Well, what happened? But Ha Lam didn't answer. He only tossed the bag of medicine in his hand to him, his face weary as if weighed down by endless exhaustion. Duong Thursday caught it, looking worriedly at his friend, who seemed half lost. Ha Lam said coldly, How long will it take to check it? His tone made Duong Thursday not dare raise his voice. He only muttered a quiet complaint. You just gave it to me. Do you even have a conscience? Under the dim street lights, the two leaned against a car by the roadside, their distant gazes searching as if trying to find something they had lost. The night wind blew through, cold and desolate. Then Duong Thursday remembered something and took a medicine bottle out of the car, handing it to Ha-Lam. Here, this is what you asked me to bring. Ha-Lam took it. Thanks. His voice was flat, without a trace of enthusiasm. Duong Thursday frowned and asked, anything else you need my help with? Alam answered briefly. Vitamins. Duong Thursday froze, then suddenly remembered. He hurriedly bent down to rummage through the car. I forgot your vitamins. He pulled out the bottle and held it out to him. Here. But Ha-Lam remained lost in thought and didn't even look at it, his face heavy with gloom. Annoyed, Duong Thursday pressed the bottle against Ha-Lam's cheek and teased, Hey, your vitamins. Ha-Lam startled and looked at the bottle, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. Why this kind? Dung tu stut? A vitamin's a vitamin. Taking the chance, he shot his friend a teasing look. Or could it be that you? Before he could finish, Ha-Lam's face darkened and a cold smile curled at his lips. That I what? What were you trying to say? Then he reached out and playfully grabbed his throat. Duong Thursday struggled and shouted, Let me go, you weakling. Ha-Lam laughed. Let go, then turn away. Enough. I'm going back. Call me when you're done. Duong Thursday shot him a resentful glance. Fine, but it'll take a while. Oh, right? How are things between you two? The sudden question made Ha-Lam stop. Then he laughed. We're much better than before. But right after that, he lowered his head, his voice turning quiet. It's just that she still hasn't remembered me. But that won't make me give up. Hearing that, Duong Thursday got irritated. Are you crazy? Why are you being so stubborn? Then he lowered his voice. What I mean is, what if she never remembers? Are you still going to stay by her side forever? Ha-Lam's eyes lit with firm resolve. Of course. With that, he quickly returned to his room. In the dimly lit room, Ha-Lam sat by the table, fingers absently rubbing the medicine bottle. Exhaustion was written all over his face, and old memories echoed once more in his mind. Come on, I'm not taking it. She turned away from him, pouting stubbornly. I'm not taking it. I said I'm not. Ha-Lam patiently asked in a soft voice. What if I have a way to make you take it? Then you'll have to accept my condition. Dutan sat bolt upright, eyes wide. What condition? Ha-Lam stepped closer, his tone gentler now. Go to bed early, hug me, and no movies. She frowned and protested. No way. I have to watch a movie tonight. He smiled. Then let's make a bet. If I lose, you can ask for anything. Her eyes flashed with interest. Fine. Then I'm betting on a serving of fried chicken. Ha-Lam nodded, as if accepting the terms. He turned away, then came back holding 2 pills in his hand. Here, baby. Zutang stai bulang li. Huh. Ha-Lam raised his brows smugly. I prepared very carefully, crushed and dissolved. You really thought you could make this hard for me? Her eyes went round. Good grief, you really are. And in the end, Ha-Lam won. He confiscated the tablet from her hands. Now say goodbye to fried chicken and movies, baby. Back in the present, Ha-Lam tightened his grip on the medicine bottle, determination shining in his eyes. All right, I'll do it that way. I have to bring Dutan back. Morning light filtered softly into the room through the wide-open window. Duong Thursday's voice came through the phone as he spoke with Ha-Lam. That bottle contains sedatives. On top of that, there's also a memory-suppressing agent. Alarm froze, repeating in surprise, memory suppression. Help me look into it more thoroughly, he said. At that moment, downstairs, Dutan slowly walked down the stairs. Her hair swayed lightly with each step, and in her hand was a half-finished carton of milk. She glanced over and saw Ha-Lam deep in conversation, his tone unusually serious. He murmured into the phone, All right then, I'll wait for your news. A trace of curiosity flashed in Dutan's eyes. Who was he talking to with such a focused expression? From the other end of the line, Duong Thursday deliberately joked. So how are you planning to repay me? Alam laughed. No idea. Then he teased. How about I repay you with my passionate love? The words made Dutan's whole body go still. The milk carton in her hand paused midair. She suddenly walked past him and deliberately spoke up to tease him, making Ha-Lam jerk around in shock, his face blank with confusion. Dutan said nothing. She only tossed the milk carton into the trash with a faintly meaningful look, leaving Ha-Lam so flustered he had no idea how to explain himself. All he could do was stammer her name. Zutang. His mind was in chaos. Oh no, did she hear everything? Trying to regain his composure, he asked, "Are you feeling any better?" Dutan calmly picked up an apron and tied it on, the corners of her lips curling into a slight smile. "Thank you. I'm much better now. Thank you for your concern." As she spoke, she gave him a mischievous wink. "Then let me repay you with my passionate love." The words left Halam stunned. His face flushed red, and he quickly covered it with one hand as he awkwardly explained, "It's not what you think. That's just my friend." Dutan pretended to sound stern. "Oh," he hurriedly added, "my friend's a guy." Her gaze pinned him down again. "Oh, alam grund. It's true. Believe me, I don't have a girlfriend." She raised her voice lightly, really, making their exchange grow more and more lively, until the door swung open and Tam Du walked in. The two of them immediately stopped and turned in surprise. "Zutang's my baliin welcome. You're back. Tam Du note that? Things are finished over there, so I came back." He held out the bag in his hand. "Breakfast. Eat." Dutan took it happily. "Okay." Then she turned and invited him. "Halam, why don't you eat with us?" Halam glanced over, then quickly turned and headed upstairs. "No, there's already food in my room." Tam Du watched him, his eyes seeming to hide secret schemes. He slowly probed. "What were you two talking about just now that seemed to make you so happy?" Dutan hesitated briefly as she opened the bag, then answered casually, "Oh, he was talking to a friend on the phone." It sounded very intimate. Tam Du let out a half-finished remark. Could it have been a girlfriend? "Zutang not that innocenti." That's what I thought too. Just as she was about to take a bite of her pastry, she heard Tam Du ask, "Did you take your medicine?" She suddenly froze. Not yet. I forgot." Tam Du frowned with concern. "You have to take it on time." "All right then. Where is it? I'll get it for you." Dutan tried to remember. "I think I left it by the bed. Could you get it for me?" Meanwhile, Halam had quietly stepped into Dutan's room. The door closed behind him. He let out a soft sigh of relief that no one had noticed and quickly grabbed the bottle from the cabinet. He dumped all the old pills into his pocket, then replaced them with the ones he had prepared in advance. His eyes flashed with tension as he warned himself silently, "Don't let me find out there's something shady going on." The sound of Tam Du's footsteps on the stairs grew closer and closer. Halam hurried out of the room, but the moment he turned, he came face to face with Tam Du. Both of them froze. Startled, Tam Du shouted, "What are you doing here?" Tam Du's warm voice followed, every word carrying concern while hiding anxiety beneath it, though his heart was full of calculation. "You have to remember to take your medicine on time." At that moment, Dutan was busy savoring her pastry. Hearing him, she lifted her head, cheeks faintly flushed, and gave him an embarrassed little smile. "I forgot." He didn't scold her, only shook his head lightly, a faint curve at his lips as if trying to ease her embarrassment. Then, with slow but steady steps, Tam Du headed toward the stairs, reassuring her in a calm, deep voice as he walked. "I'll go upstairs and get it for you." But Dutan kept nibbling at her pastry, completely unaware that Tam Du's eyes at that moment were overflowing with hatred, as though he wanted to crush the entire world. Their resentment came from a past he himself could never forget. "When I was 8 years old, a sudden fire burned my house to the ground, turning me into an orphan. In the despair of feeling like I'd lost everything, a hand reached out to save me. My father's closest friend, Uncle On, took me in. In those days, I cried in his arms as if I'd found my father again. But the days that followed were not easy. I was constantly bullied by my classmates. They shoved me down, trampled me, threw my books onto the ground. My arms and legs were covered in wounds, and they still laughed gleefully and mocked me. Where's an orphan supposed to get money from? At my weakest moment, a broom swept across, startling them into fleeing. Damn it, that crazy girl is here. That was On Nin. The most important girl in my life appeared like a tiny hero. She stood in front of me and shouted, "Who are you saying has no parents? Don't let me catch you again, trash." The other children ran off in fear. I lowered my head and picked up my school bag, awkwardly thanking her. "Sorry for bothering you." On Nin turned around, half scolding and half concerned. "Why did you let them bully you? You should have fought back." She was a year younger than me, but 100 times stronger. All I could do was sigh weakly, while she looked at me seriously. "If you keep enduring it like that, that's the real problem. You're not an orphan because you still have my family." From then on, her family treated me like their own son, taking care of me and raising me. When we grew older, they even accepted On Nin and me being together. But fate was cruel. Uncle On suddenly died of cancer. Nin's mother collapsed under the blow, and her health grew weaker and weaker. Before she could recover, Nin died too. Pain piled on top of pain until her mind could no longer bear it. Many times she would sit on the porch, staring into the distance and murmuring, "To-do, why hasn't Nin come to visit her mother? Bring her next time." All right. I couldn't bear to tell her the truth. I could only grit my teeth and answer, "Yes, I'll bring her." And from that moment, a mad idea took root in me. I would not let Nin die. Everything had been prepared. In just 5 more minutes, the surgery would begin. I transferred Nin's memories into Dutan's body so she could live once more. Even if it was only memories, she would still be Nin. Seeing Nin in Dutan's body made my heart race. I was so happy, as if she had never left. Meanwhile, Tamdu headed upstairs to Dutan's room to get the medicine. He suddenly ran into Lam coming out. Suspicion flashed in his eyes. "Lam, what are you doing here?" Lam avoided his gaze and abruptly turned to leave. Putting something back, Tamdu immediately grabbed his arm. "Does she know?" Lam forcefully shook him off, his voice icy. Nonsense. But inside, he couldn't hide his nervousness. Tamdu watched his every movement, trying to see whether there was anything unusual about him. Then Lam went downstairs, his heart pounding wildly as though it might burst. Even he was frightened by his own sense of foreboding. Tamdu pushed open the door to Dutan's room, his contemplative gaze falling on the medicine bottle on the table. He carefully picked it up, every movement so slow and cautious that it made no sound at all. The moment the lid came off, an indescribable unease flickered through his mind. But when he saw the bottle still full of pills, he finally let out a soft breath, like someone who had narrowly escaped danger. "There are still plenty." He immediately brought the bottle downstairs and handed it to Dutan. "Now that you've eaten, take your medicine." Zutang obedini not that. She took out a pill and replied softly, "Okay." She brought the pill to her lips, but suddenly became acutely aware of the tense atmosphere radiating from Tamdu. His eyes seemed fixed on her, cold and unreadable, making her heart pound. Startled, she asked, "Is something wrong?" Tamdu avoided her gaze and answered calmly, "I'm fine." But his expression looked anything but natural. Dutan felt even more uneasy. He looked so strange. "He's obviously staring at me." That look made her shiver in fear, but then she reassured herself. "I'm probably overthinking it. I should just take the medicine." Tamdu suddenly said, "There's urgent business at the company. I have to go right away." Dutan waved a hand, trying to seem at ease, even though anxiety still lingered in her eyes. "It's okay, go ahead." He turned and opened the door, but not before leaving her with a promise. "Once I'm done, I'll come see you." After Tamdu left, only the soft sound of her footsteps and the lingering scent of pastry remained in the room. Dutan tidied up the cafe when Lam came down from upstairs, concern in his voice. "Your cold isn't better yet? Then why are you taking medicine?" She answered softly, "It's just brain supplements." Lam frowned slightly, thinking to himself, that's clearly memory-suppressing medicine. Tamdu lied to her. He didn't let his thoughts show, only stepped closer. "Let me do it. You should rest." His hand gently took the things from her arms, and the softness in his gaze made Dutan's heart stir without warning. Her pulse quickened as she asked herself awkwardly, since when had their relationship become this close? Maybe since the time he learned how to soothe her emotions, or since he began caring for her in every little way. Memories suddenly rushed back. When they first met, she had hated his strange behavior, but now her gaze unconsciously followed his figure. Lam suddenly turned around, gentleness mixed with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Then he stopped and softly asked, "Is there something on my face?" Dutanes fas flushed breitred. She quickly turned away to hide her embarrassment. "No, I'm going to make coffee." With that, she hurried awkwardly into the kitchen. Lam stood there in a daze, his face full of unspoken questions. A memory stirred again inside Dutan. She remembered him once telling her to put salt in coffee. Back then, she had tried it. The salty bitterness spread across her tongue, strange yet indescribably familiar. She took a sip. It was salty indeed, mixed with bitterness. A stream of memory, like a thin thread, began pulling her mind backward to some distant place. In the deep blue water, a slender body was slowly sinking. Yet deep within her consciousness, something was stirring. The memory buried for so long trembled, as if on the verge of waking. Dutanes fastonpal. Her eyes widened in fear. and her trembling hand dropped the cup of coffee. The liquid splashed across the tiled floor. Her heart clenched. Could it be? Dutan leaned forward slightly, her wide eyes filled with curiosity and worry. Her voice came out soft yet urgent. Alam. There was no reply. The silence made her uneasy. Immediately, she moved along the cliff wall, her trembling hand groping for support, her eyes fixed on the empty space ahead. Behind her stretched a brilliant blue sky, but in her heart there was only one desperate question. Halam, where are you hiding? She slipped through narrow gaps in the rocks, squeezing through crevices, her gaze searching every corner. But there was still no sign of Halam. The crashing of the waves and the whispering wind only deepened the invisible emptiness. Dutan's steps grew more frantic as she ran along the shore between rock and sand. The sea glittered under the sunlight, and the sky was high and clear, yet her heart felt unbearably heavy. I can't find you. I don't want to play hide and seek anymore. Halam, come out. Her voice caught with worry and hurt. Then, in her haste, her foot caught on a jutting rock. Her body lost balance, and her cry echoed in the air. Dutan fell into the sea. The freezing water enveloped her body as she flailed and cried for help. Help me! Save me! Her small hands thrashed desperately as the waves swallowed her. Her consciousness dimmed, and Halam's name rang in her mind. Then a strong hand plunged down and caught hers just as she was disappearing into the depths. In that instant, Dutan thought, is this only a hallucination because I've been underwater too long? Or could this really be a memory? She suddenly jolted awake in the bathtub. Water trickled down the white porcelain. Her breathing was ragged, and her wide eyes held a strange, unfamiliar spirit. I've never been to the sea. Then why did it feel like I fell into the ocean? It felt so real, exactly like salty seawater. And that hand definitely wasn't a dream. She suddenly froze when she noticed in the mirror that a strange color had appeared in her eyes. Huh, what's wrong with my eyes? Just then, urgent knocks sounded at the door. She quickly answered, coming, just a second. Hastily putting her clothes back on, Dutan ran to open it. Halam was standing there, his smile bright as sunshine. Hello. The moment he saw her eyes, he froze slightly, stunned for an instant. Dutan boinget in confusin. He gave a gentle laugh. It's nothing. But inside, joy welled up beyond hiding. The vitamins had worked. He coaxed her softly. The weather's nice today. I'll take you somewhere. A little later, the two of them went downstairs together. Dutan asked curiously, where did you get the car? Halam replied shortly, borrowed it from friend. She smiled and teased him. Oh, must be a pretty close friend. Embarrassed, he scratched his head and looked away. The car carried them to the sea, a place marked by hazy memories. He hoped she would remember something. The sea wind stung, its saltiness seeping into every breath. The scene before her made her heart tremble. It was so much like the dream, like coffee with salt added to it, bitter and harsh in a way that was hard to describe. Had she really been here before? Could it be that she and he had known each other before? Dutan asked absent-mindedly, why did you bring me all the way out here? Halam didn't answer. He simply took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders, his voice calm and gentle. The sea breeze is cold. Put this on so you'll stay warm. Dutan's eyes widened and she nodded hesitantly. Okay. He lightly touched her cheek. A gentle smile spread across his face. Let's play hide and seek. If you find me, I'll give you the answer. She laughed and agreed. Sure, but you're not allowed to cheat. Halam began stepping back. His figure gradually disappeared behind the rocks, and his voice echoed out. I brought you here because today is a special day. On this exact day last year, on the other side of this shore, the person I loved most left me. Dutan's eyes clouded with confusion for a moment, and her heart tightened. Halam hid himself in the distance, watching quietly before letting out a small sigh. Honestly, then he called loudly, I'm over here. But this time, luck had smiled on him because she was about to come back. Dutan turned around, her eyes glimmering when she saw him, and hurried toward Halam. Even if her memories had not returned, even if she still could not clearly remember who he was, something deep in her heart still urged her to find him. Dutan walked quietly along the sand. Waves rolled in one after another, washing over her feet before receding. The salty sea wind tossed her long hair, but she did not bother fixing it. In her heart, she was not afraid that she would fail to find him. Yet the unease she felt when he was not by her side rose clearly, just like in the dream she had seen before. Suddenly, Dutan panicked and ran forward. Only then did I realize that all this time, I had never truly known where you were. From a distance, Halam stood on a rock and called out loudly, "I'm here. It's such an obvious place, and you still couldn't see me?" Dutan rushed over and threw her arms around him, holding him tight as if afraid he would disappear again. Her trembling heart realized just how important Halam was. She kept clinging to him without moving away even half a step, leaving him momentarily stunned. In that moment, I knew there were still many things I wasn't sure about. But the only thing I was certain of was that I would be happy beside him and utterly lost if I couldn't find him. Halam lowered his gaze to her and asked worriedly, "What's wrong?" Choking up, she said, "The sea is dangerous. What if you fell in again? I really do like you." He stared at her in shock. "The sea? Again? Why did you say again? Did you remember something?" Dutan stood still, her thoughts in chaos, not knowing how to explain. Halam took a deep breath to steady himself. "I am sorry. I lost my composure just now." She replied unconsciously, "I think so too." Lowering her head as if trying to recover a memory, she murmured, "Maybe I've forgotten something. But am I really the person you're looking for?" She hesitated, then asked, "Do you really like me?" Halam answered firmly, "Yes." She turned her face away, avoiding his eyes. "But what if I'm not the one you're looking for?" He stepped forward and pulled her tightly into his arms. "It doesn't matter, as long as we can start over again. As long as you stay by my side, that's enough." His voice was gentle but resolute. Then he added softly, "If you keep thinking you're not Dutan, then would you still agree to be with me?" She wanted to nod right away. But the vagueness of her dreams and the question of who she really was made her hesitate. She took the jacket off her shoulders and gave it back to him. "I need to confirm things first. Give me some time, and then I'll answer you." Halam took it, a glimmer of hope flashing in his eyes. She had given him a chance. That meant she had him in her heart too. At Tam, Du's private hospital, a doctor walked in and reported, "Director Tam, when we found the container fragments, that person had already been dead for 12 hours, but he still didn't say where the pen was." Just then, another doctor hurried over an alarm. "Director, someone is here to see you." Tam Du gave a slight cold nod, then stood up to leave, not forgetting to instruct them, "Get rid of the body." Outside the office, Dutan was already waiting. When the door opened, Tamdu looked slightly surprised. "Why are you here?" She was tense, while he calmly poured water. "This is the first time you've come here to see me." Dutan took a deep breath and gathered her courage. "I have something I want to ask. Why do I keep dreaming these strange dreams? Why did you lie to me?" The cup was filled to the brim. Tamdu fell silent for a moment, then let out a breath. "I'm sorry for lying to you." Outside the window, the sky was a heavy, gloomy gray. Thick clouds swirled like they were cradling some deep sorrow, making the whole scene sink into darkness. Tamdu looked quietly at Dutan and lied again. "At first, I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd overthink it." He placed a stack of papers in her hands. "These are your medical records. You were once seriously ill. Your organs were failing very quickly." They were indeed her medical files. At that time, the hospital was researching brain memory transfer technology. And by coincidence, a girl named Dutan had registered to donate her body before she became brain dead. Dutan's eyes trembled as she looked at the papers, utterly bewildered. Du continued explaining. "That technology wasn't perfected yet, so your memory was disrupted for a whole month. That's also why you keep having those strange dreams." Her hands tightened around the file, her voice catching. "I don't believe you. You're lying to me." Tears streamed down her face. Tamdu reached out to wipe them away, but she swatted his hand off, her reddened eyes blazing with anger. "Then tell me, who am I really?" "Tamdu answer family. Onin. You are Onin." Even without the surgery, Dutan would already be dead. Her mind fell into a void, everything around her seeming to collapse. Then he added, "There's one more thing I haven't told you. During the time you had amnesia, you promised to stay by my side." Unable to bear it, she turned and ran. Sharp questions echoed in her mind. What is happening to me? She rushed through the crowd, past the flower shop where Halam had once bought flowers for her, and the shopkeeper's voice drifted out, "Thank you for your purchase." Her footsteps came to a halt. She stood there blankly. So this body didn't belong to her. Hot tears streamed down. Was that why memories that were not hers had appeared? She pressed her hand against the clear glass of the shop window. The reflection that appeared was a stranger's face. Her heart filled with guilt. I'm making Halam mistake me for the person he loves. But if the truth is really this cruel, then does love mean anything at all? It began to rain. The raindrops mixed with the turmoil gathering in the corners of her eyes, and she almost wanted to scream. So what if I like him? What about him? Does he really like me? Her trembling lips slowly formed a bitter smile. She walked on in dejection. She clearly already knew, yet still kept asking. In the warm cafe, Ha Lam sat alone, muttering to himself as he practiced confessing. Du Tan, are you willing to start over with me? Then he laughed at himself. No, that won't do. She'll get mad. He changed the wording. On Nin, whether or not you remember who you are. But do you want to be with me? His heart was in knots. It wasn't his first time, so why was he still trembling like this? I just have to start over. He took a deep breath and practiced again. Du Tan, do you want? But the sentence broke off. He froze when a familiar figure appeared. Du Tan was standing at the door. Her eyes were vacant, her clothes soaked through. Ha Lam hurriedly got to his feet. You're back? Why didn't you bring an umbrella? He grabbed a towel and held it out to her, afraid she would catch cold. Hurry and change before you get sick. But the words that left her lips suddenly plunged the atmosphere into darkness. No, Du Tan is dead. Ha Lam stood in front of her, his voice low and warm, but edged with worry. His eyes were deep, as if trying to pierce through the hard shell she was hiding behind. What happened to you? She lowered her head, her slender shadow stretching across the floor, her voice so soft it almost dissolved into the air. I'm Phoenix. But in the faint light pouring through the window, that silence seemed to say the exact opposite. Ha Lam gladpet du Tan sha hen tai li. His hand was warm, trembling slightly, and his voice was unwavering. It's okay if you don't want to say yes. He handed her a small object. Keep this. It was the pufferfish pin she had once liked. His eyes lit up. No matter what happens, I'll find you. Her face darkened. Wasn't this the thing he had given Du Tan? In her mind, only one thought echoed. I am on Nin, not Du Tan. Her trembling hand clenched around the pin. Then she suddenly shouted, Don't you understand what I just said? At the same moment, she hurled the pin out into the street, her voice hoarse. She's dead. Du Tan is dead. After saying that, she turned and ran outside, pouring all her grievance and confusion into her steps. The door slammed hard behind her. Her small figure disappeared into the rain, letting the icy drops pour down on her. Ha Lam stood frozen in the room, his whole body like stone. What exactly had she gone through? Outside, Du Tan's tears mingled with the rain, and guilt rose in her heart for deceiving Ha Lam. I am sorry. I'm not the person you love. She ran to a tree and crouched beneath it, clutching her head in both hands, her mind in utter chaos. I don't want to keep lying to myself and deceiving him. The rain gradually stopped, and weak sunlight broke through the clouds, brightening the scenery, but her heart remained heavy. If she could not change his feelings, then at least she could give herself time to think. She unconsciously tightened her grip on the pufferfish pin she had just picked back up. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared before her, and her heart gave a painful jolt. Her eyes lit up. You. But when she looked up and saw the face clearly, her spirit crumbled. It was Tam. He asked softly, Are you okay? Seeing how drenched she was, he took off his long coat and draped it over her, his voice full of concern. Don't let yourself get cold. Then he helped her back to the cafe to rest. As soon as they entered, a strong hand suddenly seized Tam Du's wrist. It was Ha Lam, his entire body soaked from the rain. His eyes blazed, and killing intent was written all over his face at the sight before him. Du Tan flinched as she looked at the raindrops running down his face. Her heart trembled. Had he gone looking for her? Her lips parted slightly, about to call his name. Ha Lam, you. But before she could finish, his hand swung. A sharp slap cracked through the air. Tam Du's face jerked to the side, blood appearing at the corner of his mouth. He spat lightly onto the ground. With an innocent look in his eyes, he asked, What are you doing? Ha Lam grabbed his tie and growled. You clearly know everything. His gaze was icy. Not want to make a scene in front of Du Tan. He only threatened coldly. You'd better stay away from her. The corner of Tam Du's mouth lifted in a mocking smile. What right do you have to say that? This is our family's business. There's no need for an outsider like you to interfere. Hot blood surged through Ha Lam, veins standing out on his forehead. Gritting his teeth, he said, Say that one more time. Unable to stand it any longer, Du Tan suddenly shouted, Enough! I am freezing. Let's go inside. Tamdu immediately let go and opened the door. All right, let's go in. Ha Lam stood rooted in place. His eyes were bloodshot, his anger choking his chest, and all he could do was silently watch her figure. As she passed him, Du Tan subtly moved her lips, sending him a message by mouth shape alone. Ha Lam, see you later. In Du Tan's quiet room, Tam Du is still sitting there waiting, gently turning a coffee cup that still held a trace of warmth. The bathroom door opened, and Du Tan stepped out, her wet hair still dripping. A soft towel hung loosely over her shoulders as she spoke quietly. It's so late. You still haven't gone home. Tam Du gently placed a cup of hot ginger tea in her hands, his voice low and warm. I just made it. Drink it while it's still hot to warm your stomach. She accepted it with both hands, the heat slowly passing into her small fingers. Her eyes showed a hint of awkwardness mixed with gratitude. Her lips moved slightly. Thank you. Tam Du nodded faintly and offered, let me dry your hair for you, looking every bit like a thoughtful older brother. Du Tan immediately turned away, her voice firm. I could do it myself. Tam Du remained patient. Just let me do it. Otherwise, you'll catch a cold easily. His gaze drifted far away as he thought to himself. Anin always had the habit of drying her hair completely. That was a habit that belonged to her. Du Tan hesitated, then let him dry her hair. Streams of warm air brushed over her, making her hair fluffy, yet unease rose in her heart. How strange. Why am I used to this kind of care? What is happening to me? Everything is getting blurrier and blurrier. Her hand tightened around the ginger tea, her whole body trembling in fear. Could it be that there really was something between me and Tam Du? She bit her lip hard. But no, this feeling was completely different from how it felt when she was with Ha Lam. After changing clothes, Du Tan took a trash bag outside. Once she finished throwing it away, her face went blank, her eyes empty, not knowing what to do next. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. It was Duong Thursday. Du Tan found herself calling out instinctively. Zung Tu. He paused in surprise, eyes widening. You remembered me? Du Tan hurriedly clapped a hand over her mouth. In her mind, only one thought flashed by. Did I just call his name? Flustered, she waved her hands. No. Are you looking for Ha Lam? I can call him for you. Duong Thursday quickly shook his head with an awkward smile. No need. I could just wait for him. Go do what you need to do. Her heart pounding, Du Tan turned and ran, turmoil swirling inside her. My body has changed. My memories are scrambled. Maybe even my feelings are no longer the same as before. Now I can't stay by Ha Lam's side, and I can't let myself soften toward Tam Du again. I can't keep deceiving them anymore. I have to tell the truth. She decided to go to Tam Du's private hospital. This time, her steps were more resolute. When Tam Du saw her, he asked in surprise, "Why didn't you go to work today?" Du Tan gripped the strap of her bag tightly, her voice decisive. I have something I want to ask you. Can you show me Yansak's certificate? Yesterday, the team found a body in the outskirts. The identity has been confirmed. He was a doctor at Tam Du's hospital. So this definitely has something to do with him. You should be careful. Ha Lam took it, determination rising in his heart. This time, I'll definitely protect her. He returned to the cafe, but Du Tan was nowhere to be seen. Only Dong Tien was there, and he immediately asked, "Where's On Nin?" Dong Tien looked up. She just asked for leave. She said she had something she needed to discuss with Tam Du. Why isn't this pen writing? Alam frowned. Then his gaze suddenly stopped on the pen in Dong Tien's hand, and he recognized it at once. It was the very pen Du Tan had once used. He quickly snatched it away. A terrible premonition rose in his heart. Could this be a USB drive? He plugged it into the computer. A video appeared on the screen. It was from the very day Du Tan disappeared. The footage showed a cold operating room where Tam Du and the doctor whose body had later been dumped were carrying out a shady experiment. The man stepped closer to the camera, his voice ringing out. Experimental surgery, August 14th, 2019. Patin Onning Zutang. The surgery was successful. The screen went dark. Ha Lam's blood boiled. Rage exploded inside him. Clenching his fists, unable to hold back any longer, he stormed straight to Tam Du's office. His roar thundered through the air. Tam Du, across the vast open sea, gentle waves lapped against each other, and a small boat rocked unsteadily. Tam Du's voice rang out, full of menace. At first, all you had to do was take the medicine. Who told you not to listen? You remembered so quickly. He coldly withdrew a syringe. The needle pierced her skin, making Du Tan tremble as the anesthetic slowly spread. His voice turned sinister. Now let me operate on you again. His lips curled into a cruel smile. You were foolish enough to come here, demanding to see the certificate. Du Tan's frail body lay on the operating table, her face pale beneath the harsh white light. He sneered smugly. How could I possibly show you the certificate? What good would a fake one do anyway? Her ears rang, but every word still slammed into her heart. Fake. The thought made Du Tan's whole body shake. She struggled to sit up and resist, but the medicine was already taking effect. Her breathing grew heavy, her vision blurred. You lied to me again. Her voice trembled. I want to see how I am. Instantly, Du clamped a hand over her mouth, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Shoo! His whisper slithered into her ear like a venomous snake. So you like him now? Then what about Nin? I can't leave Nin. His arm shoved hard, sending her small body collapsing back down. His low voice sounded again. All right, go to sleep. When you wake up, you'll be the new Nin. Du Tan forced out a weak protest. No, I want to get out. Let me go. I still haven't told him. Her voice grew softer and softer before vanishing into unconsciousness. I like him. Her eyelids closed, and darkness swallowed her whole. At the same time, elsewhere, furious pounding echoed through Du's office. Ha Lam burst in, his eyes burning red. Duong Thursday hurriedly grabbed him. What are you doing? What good will losing your temper do? Ha Lam ground his teeth. If I'd found the evidence sooner, she wouldn't have been taken by him. Now I don't even know where she is. Duong Thursday tried to calm him. Calm down. The police have already opened an investigation. No one expected Du to be reckless enough to abduct Du Tan and run. Otherwise, we would have put a tracker on him long ago. Ha Lam froze, suddenly struck by the idea. A tracker. He hurriedly pulled out his phone, his hands shaking. Even though he had seen her throw it away with his own eyes, he still tried. A light flashed. Thankfully, a signal appeared. Du Tan had kept the pufferfish badge. She hadn't thrown it away at all. She had picked it back up. Alam's leap strumbleth. That means she likes me. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen. A red dot clearly marked the location. The sea. She's out at sea. Meanwhile, in the haze of unconsciousness, Du Tan's soul wandered into a dim, indistinct space. There, a girl walked toward her. I'm Nin. Who are you? Du Tan but in tu tia. I don't know. Nin smiled gently. Don't worry. You'll remember. I'll help you, just as I'm helping myself. Her eyes lit up. Think carefully. Who is the person you worry about most? Who is the one who always protects you? Who was your first kiss with? Who cried and laughed with you? Who has stayed by your side all this time? Memories came crashing back like a flood. Her heart trembled, and Du Tan cried out, It's Ha Lam. It's all Ha Lam. Nin nodded softly. That's right. So answer me. Who are you? Determination shone in Du Tan's eyes. I remember now. I'm Du Tan. Her voice echoed through the empty space. She pushed open an invisible door, determined to find her way back. Ha Lam, wait for me. No matter what, I'll return to you. But at that very moment, Du appeared. His voice was icy. You're awake? Looks like it failed after all. She stepped back, breathing fast. He advanced on her step by step, his voice threatening. Are you planning to leave me? Du Tan Chembo. Then what are you going to do? The corner of his mouth lifted into a cruel smile. His cold hand suddenly shoved hard, and her body reeled. His voice slipped through clenched teeth. Nin, goodbye. The raging waves surged, and Du Tan's body plunged straight into the sea. The words sounded gentle, but they were filled with sorrow and helplessness, like a farewell he had never wanted to make. Du Tan's body sank deeper into the freezing water. Her heart pounded frantically, her arms flailing in desperation as she struggled to survive. In that blurred instant, memories flooded back, and she finally understood everything Ha Lam had done for her all these years. So now I understand why you acted so strangely when you met me. The coffee with 2 spoonfuls of salt, the secret known only to the two of us. Her vision dimmed, but her hand still clutched the pufferfish badge tightly. Back then, you used that sweet, salty taste to awaken my memories. Tears dissolved into the seawater. Now I've remembered everything, but it seems it's already too late. Suddenly, Ha Lam cut through the waves and rushed toward her. His body shot forward like an arrow, his heart screaming, Du Tan, I'm here. I won't let you leave again. His hand reached out through the icy water and finally grabbed hers, gripping it tightly as if afraid of losing her again. I'll hold you close and wait for you to come back. Ha Lam pulled Du Tan up to the surface. Breathing hard, the two of them escaped danger. Du Tan's face lit up the moment she saw him. Her lips trembled. Is it really you? Husband, it really is you. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she choked on her words. I thought this time. Her voice broke off. Ha Lam heard her, and his heart nearly burst. Half joy, half disbelief. Wait, what did you call me? Is it really you? Du Tan be met? She hugged him tightly, as though she wanted to melt into him. I remember everything. Our wedding, our past, the love you gave me. I've remembered it all. The two of them held each other tightly beneath the crimson sunset, tears mingling with smiles. The memories that had seemed forgotten suddenly surged back, lighting up their hearts in that deeply emotional reunion. A few days later, Tam Du was arrested. Du Tan went to the detention center to settle things once and for all. His hands were cuffed. She looked at him calmly. I don't see this as a matter of winning or losing. Did you really treat my life and On Nin's life like pieces in a game? Tam Du's face briefly showed confusion. Then he sighed, as though laying down a heavy burden. To me, you were only a vessel. Now that you've found yourself again, there's nothing left for us to say. Quietly, Du Tan took a small box from her bag. I found this while packing up your things. I think you should keep it. Tam Du trembled as he opened the box. His eyes instantly filled with tears when he saw On Nin's glasses. He picked them up, his voice hoarse. Did you know? She and I chose these together. A strained smile mixed with falling tears. All the longing he still held for On Nin was now wrapped up in that tiny pair of glasses. Do they suit her? Zuotang not det sopti. Then she turned and walked out without looking back. Outside the detention center gate, Halam was still waiting. The moment he saw that she was safe, his face lit up. So he didn't do anything to you, right? Du Tan pretended to tease him. What do you mean? Do I even know you? Why should I answer? Halam panicked and hurried after her. Don't tell me you forgot everything again. Zuotang don ske me. She suddenly pulled him close and kissed him deeply. This time, no matter what happens, I'll never forget you again. The two of them smiled through their tears. The salty taste on their lips was both the taste of tears and the taste of the sea, also the very taste of that salted coffee from years ago. That familiar flavor belonged only to them. This is the end of the story. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a share, so I'll have more motivation to make more videos. Don't forget to follow for the next episodes. Wishing you a day full of energy.